biggest headline for the day, and that is that it is a big day for the world's biggest democracy as India gets set to elect its next Prime Minister. Nearly 1.7 lakh polling booths, 20 states and union territories, 91 constituencies and 1,279 candidates. India starts voting today in the first phase of the Lok Sabha elections. Shireen Bhan joins us now. Shireen, over to you.
Nearly 1.7 lakh polling booths, 20 states and union territories, 91 constituencies and 1,279 candidates. India votes today in the first phase of the elections. Let's talk about the big battlegrounds. Andhra Pradesh will be the biggest battleground as the state votes for both the Lok Sabha and the State Assembly. This is what's on offer as far as the Lok Sabha is concerned. Neighbouring Telangana will see all 17 Lok Sabha seats go to the polls in the first phase. 13 seats in the northeast. This is going to be crucial for the Bharatiya Janata Party. They are hoping to offset any potential losses that they may see in the north from states like the northeast, from states like Odissa and Bengal. Well, also in Uttar Pradesh, this is going to be the crucial battle. It will be a litmus test as far as the Mahagathbandhan is concerned. You have 8 seats in Uttar Pradesh that will go to polls in Phase 1. Now, let's take you through some of the other important states. Jammu and Kashmir 2, Bengal 2, Odissa. Is it going to be the Biju Janata Dal that will emerge as the victor? Remember, Naveen Patnaik going for the Chief Minister's position for the 5th straight time, or will the BJP give him a tough fight? Maharashtra, 7 seats, again crucial for the Bharatiya Janata Party. Will the NCP Shiv Sena, will the NCP Congress alliance take on the might of the BJP and the Shiv Sena? And in Bihar, once again, the Gathbandhan versus the JDU and the BJP.
All right, Shireen, thanks a lot for that. So that sets the tone for the day, but also markets to contend with. So let's take a look at how the Asian markets are faring. They trade mixed as the European Union leaders and the UK have agreed to a flexible extension of the Brexit deadline till October 31st. Remember, the earlier deadline was March 29th, which was extended to April 12th, and now this has been further extended, a flextension if you must, up until October 31st. So we'll keep an eye out on developments out there, but as of now, that can has been kicked down the road till October. The Asian markets muted cues coming in from Wall Street as well. The S&P rising on the release of Fed minutes and the commentary being that there would be no rate cuts at least till the end of this year. The Dow weighed down by Boeing. So the Japanese index, the Korean index sitting in mild green. Also some good news coming in on the trade talks front. The US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said on Wednesday that Washington and Beijing have pretty much agreed on an enforcement mechanism for when a deal is struck. As a result of that, the Asian markets in mild green. The SGX Nifty, interestingly, is outperforming the other Asian peers, up around 20-25 points. Remember, yesterday we saw a sharp fall in the last hour of trade, and crude oil prices towards the end of yesterday's trading session touched or passed that $71 per barrel mark. So we'll keep an eye out on how that pans out and the impact of that on our markets given its weekly options expiry too.
Okay, so the biggest global developing story is what is happening in the Brexit front. So the UK and the EU have agreed a flexible extension of Brexit until 31st October. The agreement was reached after 5 hours of talks at an emergency EU summit in Brussels. Now, the European Council President Donald Tusk says this gives the United Kingdom more time to find the best possible solution, while British Prime Minister Theresa May says she regrets the fact that she hasn't been able to convince the Parliament. But on that note, let's go across to CNBC Sylvia Amaro for more.
27 European countries have agreed to a second delay to the Brexit process. This means that the UK has until the 31st of October to decide its way forward. Now, this extension is a flexible one, so this means effectively that London could leave the EU before the October date if indeed there's a compromise, if there is an agreement in the House of Commons on what's going to happen next, on where to take the Brexit process. This could mean that we could see the withdrawal agreement, that 585-page document that Theresa May negotiated with the rest of the EU, approved in the House of Commons. We could be talking about as well of a general election, of a second referendum, Ultimately, it's now up to London to decide what it's going to do with this extra time. Now, I had the chance to ask the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte if this is the last extension or if indeed we might see another one. He told me, however, that he cannot exclude that possibility, but he said as well that it would be increasingly harder for the European countries to keep delaying the UK's departure from the EU. He also said, it's very important to bear in mind, that if we reach October and there's no compromise in the House of Commons, then the most likely scenario is a no-deal Brexit. And on that note, I'll hand it back to you.
The UK will continue its sincere cooperation as a full member state with all its rights and as a close friend and trusted ally in the future. Let me finish with a message to our British friends. This extension is as flexible as I expected and a little bit shorter than I expected, but it's still enough to find the best possible solution. Please do not waste this time.
The reference to sincere cooperation is a reference to the basic principle of the treaties, which are governing our living together. And I trust, Theresa May, that the United Kingdom will not step away from the treaty obligation they have to cooperate with the other member states in a sincere, loyal way.
What this extension enables us to do is to go through the process that we've set up to enable Parliament to come to a majority opinion on the way forward so that we can get that deal ratified and leave the European Union. And I want to do that as soon as possible. If we're able to do that before the 22nd of May, then we don't have to hold those European parliamentary elections. I'm very clear that we must deliver as a government on Brexit. Parliament gave the referendum, the choice to people in the referendum. The government said that we would abide by the decision that the British people took. It is now our duty to deliver on that decision. We could already have left the European Union. What I want to do now is to work to ensure that we get that majority in Parliament such that we can ratify this agreement, leave the European Union, do it in an orderly way with a deal, and do it as soon as possible.
All right, so on that note, let's also hear out Victor Schwetz of Macquarie on the latest developments on the Brexit deal and what he makes of it.
The probability of Britain never exiting European Union is today higher than what it was a week or 2 weeks ago. But how exactly it will be done, it's like blind leading the blind, or, definition of insanity. You keep on doing the same thing all over again and expecting a different outcome. The challenge is UK is divided. 50% of the country wants it, the other one doesn't. And UK is a democracy. You have to remember, European Union is not a democracy, but UK is. And so you have a problem finding the answer. So if you keep on delaying, I think the expectation should be and would be that Britain simply will never leave European Union. I just don't believe in seasonality. I don't believe in months, particular months as good or bad. I don't believe money on the sidelines. For every buyer there is a seller. So somebody has the cash or somebody views the cash. So I don't believe any of that. But one of the things, it is true, that sort of uncertainty will go on. And in fact, it could go on way beyond October. But we have so many other uncertainties as well, which are outstanding. This is just one in the pack that Federal Reserve in particular needs to take into account, and China needs to take into account. Because at the end of the day, there are three powerful forces in the world: US consumer, Federal Reserve, and China.
Okay, that's the latest from Europe, but let's take a look at what happened in the US markets as well overnight, because the Wall Street there ended in the green, fueled by the Federal Reserve's comments that it would keep rates unchanged this year. The Dow paid early gains but ended just 7 points higher as Boeing shares weighed on the sentiment. CNBC's Deirdre Bosa gets us a wrap of all the action on Wall Street.
U.S. stocks finishing the day higher, the Dow rising 5 points, the S&P up 10, and the Nasdaq gaining 54 points. Americans are paying more for goods and services according to the Labor Department's Consumer Price Index. The index posting its biggest increase in more than a year in March, boosted by higher costs for food, gasoline, and rents. The chief executives of 7 major U.S. banks testifying before the House Financial Services Committee on the progress they've made since the financial crisis. Executives were criticized for their large pay packages compared to their average employee's compensation, high overdraft fees, and also asked how their companies are helping underserved communities. Amazon Go stores will soon accept cash. Amazon Go's stores allow shoppers to shop without having to wait in a checkout line, but cashless stores like these ones have come under intense scrutiny for being discriminatory, especially towards the unbanked population who do not have access to bank accounts, debit cards, or credit cards. That's the action from the U.S. market. Back to you, Emma.